Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Oh well, who would have seen this one coming? Definitely not this guy who's been saying this is exactly what's gonna happen. I tried to warn him, I tried to warn these copium Democrats. I tried to bring their excitement level down just a little bit because I didn't want them to be disappointed, you know? They're like children. You want them to moderate their expectations. They build up these ideas, they build up their hopes, they get super excited, and then once it doesn't go their way, their entire world gets shattered. You know, I don't want to see Democrats looking like this again.
This has to be a joke. I do not believe this is happening. You better fix this right now.
Who am I kidding? I'm trying to keep this act up. That's exactly how I want to see Democrats. Because when Democrats are acting like that, when Democrats feel like that, it's a good thing. It means common sense and logic is probably going to prevail, at least to a certain extent when it comes to government policy. And man, oh man, are Democrats up for a serious wake-up call. All the hopium they keep saying the red wave is gone. There was a red wave, but Dobbs turned the whole thing around for the Democrats. Joe Biden turned his presidency around with his inflation reduction scam, or as Karine Jean-Pierre put it, the infrastructure reduction plan.
You think about the Infrastructure Reduction Act, that's going to create jobs.
But just like I've been saying, it's all too little, too late. Republicans are in for a serious surge in the polls the closer we get to election day, and there's a couple important factors that we haven't discussed yet, or that we haven't really covered that much or gone into too much detail. These two factors leading to a last-minute Republican surge. It's already happening. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on here. So of course, like always, let's roll the tape. All right, folks. So I have been on the record. I've said it over and over again. The closer we get to election, the more Democrats will continue to crumble, and the more Republicans will continue to surge in the polls. And one state that I continue to mention is the state of Wisconsin. I mean, I follow all the election stuff all over Twitter. Democrats have convinced themselves that Ron Johnson is going to lose his seat in Wisconsin. And I have been saying this entire time, there's no way that's going to happen. There's no way Ron Johnson loses his seat to communist Mandela Barnes. It's very similar to what we're seeing in Pennsylvania with Mehmet Oz and John Fetterman, except the only difference is Ron Johnson isn't as weak of a candidate as Mehmet Oz. And we've been covering all of the polls. As you guys can see, we got two Marquette University polls, a Fox News poll, and a Trafalgar poll, all showing Mandela Barnes winning, Ron Johnson losing. In fact, the second Marquette University poll has Mandela Barnes winning by 7%. That poll was conducted a month ago, and in 1 month since, that poll has shifted 8 percentage points. Take a look at this. Wisconsin Senate polling, Marquette University showing Ron Johnson winning at 49%, Mandela Barnes losing at 48%. An 8-point shift towards Johnson in a month. And the NRCC poll, which is a Republican internal poll, shows Ron Johnson winning at 49%, a +4 lead over Mandela Barnes. People might be saying, well, that's a Republican internal poll. Well, Republican internal polls tend to be a little bit more accurate. In fact, remember those Republican internal polls that, well, Republican internal polls tend to be a whole lot more accurate than the Democrat push polls that get it wrong every single election cycle. Remember that Republican internal poll that predicted a historic upset victory? Oh yeah, Donald Trump's internal polls, which told him he was going to win in 2016, even though he was trailing Hillary Clinton by double digits for almost the entire election cycle. The thing is, the polling industry is biased against Republicans. The only polls that aren't biased against Republicans are Republican biased polls, because they're actually analyzing what kind of shot they have and whether or not they need to do work. They're being honest. That NRCC poll is probably much closer to what the final result is really gonna be. A +4 to 5 lead for the Republican candidate in Wisconsin. There is absolutely no way Mandela Barnes, a man whose main policy proposal is letting people out of prison, is gonna win in a state like Wisconsin, a state that voted for Donald Trump in 2016, and a state that was nearly tied in the 2020 election. There is absolutely no way that Ron Johnson loses. Well, maybe I shouldn't say absolutely, but there is very little chance that Ron Johnson loses this race. And what we see from this Marquette poll, an 8-point shift in a month, just shows how flawed their data is. I mean, generally when you're collecting data like this, you don't just randomly see 8-point shifts in a matter of less than 30 days, unless something major has happened. Well, absolutely nothing major has happened, and we're already seeing an 8-point shift for the Republican. Either their data strategies are absolutely awful, or we're seeing a massive pre-election Republican surge. Probably both are true. That's probably the only explanation for a 30-day 8-point shift. But there's a lot of explanations here for this late-game Republican shift, and that's the element of a very messy Republican primary primary process. There is currently a battle going on in the Republican Party. There's the neocon fossils of old, who are desperately trying to keep their grasp on power, and then of course there's the emergence, the ascendance of America First policies and America First candidates. The Republican primary process has been extremely messy. You have Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell, Liz Cheney and the Bushes, spending millions upon millions upon millions of dollars in this messy primary season, or in the primary season that just finished, trying to get in the way of America First Republican candidates. The issue of electability. No, you can't just elect Carrie Lake. She's a Trump candidate. She's not electable, they tell you, as they spend millions of dollars propping up nothing, boring, zero charisma candidates, and writing all kinds of hit pieces on the Trump candidates that dominated basically across the board. Well, it's been a couple weeks and in some cases over a month since this very messy primary season, and now that the divisive Republican primary process is over, what we're seeing are independents and Republican voters coalescing behind the Republican candidate. It's going to take some time, and slowly but surely they're going to come over, just like we saw with Carrie Lake. And slowly but surely Republicans are going to creep up and up and up and up, and eventually election day is going to hit, and people are going to look at their wallet, they're going to look at their 401k, they're going to think about the most important issues, and they're going to say, which candidate or which political party currently represents me? Well, we know for a fact that's the Republican Party, at least for the most part, for the majority. And those deciding factors and those important issues, those policies are going to be the most important deciding factors that lead to making a choice on election day. And the closer we get to election day, the closer we get to the actual thing, not the hypothetical in 2 months thing, the more you're going to see Republican candidates continue to surge. As the election gets more real and less hypothetical, the better Republicans do, because Republicans operate in the real world and have pragmatic solutions. The more people research, the more people are paying attention, the better Republicans are going to do. And the more the fragmented voter base coalesces behind the current Republican candidate, the better Republicans are going to do. Not to mention, speaking of the 401k issue that I mentioned earlier, it's September and October is right around the corner. Historically, the worst months for the market. And this is Joe Biden's economy, this is Joe Biden's inflation crisis and standard of living and affordability crisis. I just have this small feeling that the economy and the markets aren't going to do so hot in September and October. And then if we start to see Q3 quarterly earnings lower than expected, and possibly even another quarter of negative GDP, which I'm not 100% sure it's going to be negative just yet. I think it might actually be positive this time, but if it's below expectations, and we start seeing market capitulation, mass stock sell-offs, well then people are going to get a very real, very harsh reminder of the current Biden economy as they get poorer and everything else gets more expensive. And what do you think it's going to lead to? Of course, a Republican surge right before election day. There's a lot of factors here, folks. A lot of factors that Democrats choose to ignore purposely. They'd rather live in their own bubble. But the red wave has not weakened. In fact, I think the red wave continues to get stronger, because I'm getting more confident that Republicans stand a very good chance of flipping the Senate. The initial red wave speculation or red wave prediction was that Republicans would regain the House and that the Senate was a complete toss-up. The closer we get to election day, the more I'm thinking Republicans are going to take 52 seats in the Senate. And if that happens, boy oh boy, just get ready for the mass liberal meltdown. I don't know about you guys, but that sounds juicy to me. I'm getting excited. That's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. I'm going to get back to work. Thanks for watching, friends, and I will see you on the next one.